the big aspects that's been continually changing, especially as it relates to hardware, is that hardware is becoming much more open. It's becoming much more able to both connect to it in an open manner, so you don't need proprietary methods to connect to it, as well as you can configure and control these in a much more open manner.
And as a matter of fact, we actually have been focusing a lot of our operations integration strategy to leverage that change in the software where the hardware has become much more available for us to connect to, and we're leveraging that as a competitive advantage to make sure that we can connect to a lot of things that were not available there before.
And from this, we really don't know what the total scope is going to come out of this, right? We've got all these devices we can work with that we can configure, and we can add value, and our customers can consume that data in ways that they might not have understood they had this data available to them before. But we can also configure them to act autonomously, make decisions in the field, so we can configure these as edge devices.
I think ultimately the major changes we'll see in the way people use these systems are going to be in the way that they put them together. I think they're going to put them together in a much more seamless manner, as opposed to put this thing together, then integrate it with that, then put this thing together, then integrate it with that. All of this openness will actually result in a much more cohesive system that's much more easily to assemble.
Like a giant distributed control system.
Exactly.
What we need to make sure is that we never limit the capability of the hardware we're dealing with. So we don't want to put in place a solution that says, well, we can only take advantage of a part of that because product A can only do a part of it, and product B therefore can only do that same part. So we need to make sure that anything we do that's agnostic doesn't in any way prohibit the functionality, the features of that particular piece of hardware.
And in a lot of ways, that's actually where we shine. In other words, we have a software suite that allows connectivity to a lot of devices, and we're actually now using our software to bring more intelligence into our software offerings. In other words, being able to do more than just connectivity to those devices. Bringing the intelligence from our software to actually build projects from the information that is already exists over there. So a lot of cool, interesting things happening in the upcoming releases of our software.
In the next 10 years, I expect that there'll be significant changes in the area of industrial automation, specifically in the area of process visualization, whereas today, as we've talked about in the past, but there's been such a focus on just, is the machine operating enough? Now it's going to be more about, should the machine be operating? Is this a profitable operation? Am I making money now? Or am I losing money now? Those are the types of things people are going to need to know in real time, not as to just, what's the set point and what's the speed of it, but how is this affecting my business? Is this improving me? Is it generating waste? Is it costing us money? And ultimately, that's going to require not just information from those machines, but from so many parts of the overall organization that today maybe some of these pieces of information exist, but they're not tied together. So while I think we've done great leaps over the last 10 years in addressing what we've referred to as islands of automation, I think in the future we're going to be tying together what I'm calling these islands of information into a holistic system that allows you to make those business choices.
Yeah, I think we'll see more context. More context for that data, more context for the control system, so the control system will be more aware of its relationship. The physical components will have more awareness of the relationship with pieces. And I think that's all about the data management and configuration side, where these devices will be able to act more autonomously with this context. And I think it's essential we bring this context because of the fact there is going to be a data explosion, right? We're getting more and more data, we don't know what to do with it. Sometimes a high energy price is a bad thing, but sometimes it's not a bad thing. If you're producing a lot and getting value out of that high energy price, it's not such an issue, but sometimes it is an issue, right? So it's about knowing when something is good and when it's bad, and it's not just a number.
And at the end of the day, if we want to look forward 10 years, we also probably want to look back 10 years and see where we were 10 years ago and where we are right now. And technology doubling every about 18 months or so, the speed of chipsets and so on and so forth. Again, all the connectivity with cellular networks, if we look at where we're that 10 years ago, completely different world. So if we look forward 10 years into the future, the plants are not going to be necessarily the plants of today. Yes, there's going to be the traditional manufacturing, but business intelligence will extend much more than that, where it's going to be all tied together to a really global information system.
In the next 10 years, the customers will become to expect far more from their HMI and SCADA systems as they look to integrate other aspects. I think they will go beyond just displays showing pictures of equipment and whether or not those equipment are running and what's the current state. But now we're going to have to understand contextually other information associated with that. And so I may want to know information about weather, or information about costing, or maintenance, or documents, or procedures, or what else may be happening within my business right now to give me context of, should I be running that equipment? Should I be changing its state? Should I be doing something else as opposed to just watching a number on a screen? And so this can become much more interactive and much more proactive.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, it's a key component. The contextual part, I think, is a key component of the value of the data. Today, the value of the data comes in little bursts of information. In the future, all that data will have a lot of context around it, ready to be used. And I think our HMI systems are already going to be prepared for that information. And again, I think it's going to be very, very distributed from the perspective of where the users can access that information.
I think it's going to be more sophisticated, right? As we see new generations of people coming through with computing degrees, we see, we've moved on from the relay in the field and hit it with a hammer when it gets stuck, right? So we have evolved in the past 20 years from that, but we still have the legacy of that we're now moving beyond. So I think systems are getting more and more sophisticated, and as they get more and more sophisticated, we need to make sure that we provide the simplicity to manage that sophistication, right? And I think that's a key driver, key focus of us is to make sure that we keep that simplicity in the system.
And that sophistication can come from a variety of data systems or hardware pieces. So it's going to be important for us to allow customers to select best of breed. Pick the best thing that allows you to what you need to do, and we just make sure that we have to be inclusive of whatever that is.
Yeah, and that it doesn't become a prohibitive thing for the end customer. So that as the system gets sophisticated, it's not that they become beholden to it, that it's too hard to change and it's too hard to modify. It's critical for customers to be able to optimize and adapt to their process needs, right? So it's our responsibility to make sure that they have that agility and they can do it without risk, right?
Yes.
Well, obviously one of our core competencies is the fact that we're platform agnostic. We can connect to anything out there, and with our portfolio, we want to continue to grow as new things come into the market, especially with the industrial Internet of Things. New protocols, new technologies are surfacing almost on a monthly basis. And we are preparing ourselves for that. We're preparing our software suite, the intelligence in our software to be able to tackle those problems that come to us on a regular basis. We want to make sure that we stay ahead of the competition with respect to the entire suite, because at the end of the day, the value of the software comes from being able to connect to devices. That's where it all starts. The Internet of Things is not about connectivity only. It's about bringing data in and then producing value with it above and beyond just the connectivity. And without connectivity, really, then the strategy becomes very, very watered down. So that's why we're putting so much emphasis on it, to make sure that we have a very strong connectivity, very strong push into technology. That way, all the rest of the value can surface from there.
But as Schneider Electric, when you look at the broader picture, if you consider IoT to also involve configuration, I mean, that's where being part of the bigger Schneider history, where we actually have a background now in control and automation, not just in the supervisory, we can now leverage that into IoT. I mean, it puts us as a company in the strongest IoT position, right? We have best of breed for the visualization, data capture, historian, data management, analytics sitting on the top. And now we have also the capability of configuration, control down into the IoT space. So it really is quite a compelling, and it's an exciting time.
And more than ever now, there's been, you referenced this, Alvaro, an explosion of new standards, new protocols, new the way things connect to each other. And while the Internet of Things comes with a promise of everything being integrated, more than ever, we need systems to be able to tie them all together, because not all of them speak the same language. And so something has to act as the translator, if you will.
The glue.
Yeah, that's where we're going to have to play.
Yeah.